The Central Bank of Nigeria has just released its 2026 macroeconomic outlook, and the headlines are cautiously optimistic. The country's apex bank is projecting a 4.49% GDP growth for 2026, a significant uptick from the estimated 3.89% in 2025. Inflation is expected to ease to 12.94%, and the foreign exchange market is forecast to remain stable.
The report attributes this to a mix of monetary tightening, fiscal reforms, banking sector recapitalisation, and foreign exchange market liberalisation over the past 3 years. But what does this mean for everyday Nigerians still grappling with high food prices, fuel costs, and a volatile Naira? Joining us this morning is Economist and Principal Partner at Woodridge and Scott Consulting, Mr. Segun Sopitan. A very good morning, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
And Happy New Year to you.
Yes. Now, the CBN is projecting a very optimistic 4.49% GDP growth prediction for 2026. And they've given several reasons for this. How do you see this? Do you think it's achievable, or they've been overly optimistic?
I mean, given that we're coming from estimate for 2025, we'll suggest we'll finish at about 3.8, 3.9. 4.4, 4.5 is conservative enough. When it comes to data, when it comes to, using the tools of monetary policy management, economic management, they're good. They do their jobs thoroughly. So I have faith in the numbers that they put out. From the point of view of macroeconomic management, especially from the neoliberal economic philosophy standpoint, yeah, you probably will see those things. Of course, it's a different question. Even if we achieve those things, will they be enough? Is that what we need to be looking for? Is that where we should be pushing? Different conversation, but yeah, the projections are conservative and realistic enough.
And it's good news.
I don't know about that, to be honest.
I mean, any sort of growth is considered good news.
I don't know about that, and I say that because typically Nigeria's growth over the last maybe 15, 20 years has not been inclusive growth. There's something they call inclusive growth in economic, management, where you are seeing the growth in the numbers and the indicators are looking good.
And everyone is carried along.
And it's affecting the vulcanizer, and the pepper seller. The kind of growth, even when we're reporting 5%, 5.5%, GDP growth rates under President Jonathan at a point, and President Obasanjo before him, the life of the average Nigerian was still miserable to a very large extent. So whether this will be good news, I strongly doubt it. I think before we can say that these numbers will mean good news to the average Nigerian, you have to be talking double-digit growth rates. You have to, given where we're coming from, given our population. You've got to be saying, if we say we're growing at maybe 8%, yeah, we're starting. We have to be talking of 10, 12% annual GDP growth rate before we can say yes.
Yeah, but the 4.5, the 3 point something, why isn't there even a trickle down to the vulcanizer and those in the lower rung of society?
So the reason for that is two things. One is that there is a bit of a disconnect as a result of corruption between government spending and the impact on the people. Somehow the money gets missing in between. The way government spending is supposed to work is you're spending on infrastructure, you're spending on recurrent expenditure, especially the infrastructure spend should result in the employment of people. It's human beings that will do a lot of that work, So if the work gets done, then when government spends money, they will employ contractors, they will employ suppliers and all of that, and people will feel it. And then those people have family members, they would also go spend, so there's a multiplier effect on the economy. So that, typically doesn't quite happen. So that disconnect happens. And then the second thing, and this is very critical, and that's why for me, what we've been doing, in this country over the last 10, 15, maybe for as long as we've existed, really, has not been what we're supposed to be trying to do. There is no intentionality about our economic management strategy. If you look at the structure of our economy, there is a disconnect. What are the major contributors to the economic development in Nigeria? It's agriculture, it's industry, it's services. In fact, when you want to consider GDP contribution anywhere in the world, those are the three sectors you look at. Now, if you look at sectoral contribution, for a country like Nigeria, that is a middle income, in fact, some will classify us as low income, as a low income country. We have jumped to the services, reliance on services as a major GDP contributor, skipping industry, the industrial sector.
Productivity,
Yeah. So we've moved from agriculture, and agriculture is still contributing 23% as we speak today. And then we've skipped the industrial sector, and the services sector is contributing about 60% of GDP. Now, the services sector cannot employ the number of people that the industrial sector can employ.
And when you say industrial, manufacturing,
construction, and all of those other real activities in the economy. So we have to find a way to dial back and focus on that sector and drive productivity there. Otherwise, you would always have this lack of connect between GDP numbers and the impact on the ordinary Nigerian.
Okay, let's also talk about inflation. I mean, one of the reasons that they've given is inflation, right? We've seen slowing down of inflation rate in the past 8 months up until November. What impact will these new tax laws have on inflation in the year 2026?
I think there will be two types of impact. There is the artificial impact that will be temporary, which is there's a lot of myths and misconceptions around the entire policy that I don't think the government is doing enough of a job to address. Yes, there's a lot of conversation, but the conversation is not being led by the government. They're being reactive, right? So a lot of people believe that their accounts are going to be debited, starting from yesterday, right? And what you hear people say is, I have to increase my prices because government is going to tax me. So they are going to have that artificial impact on, people
I started receiving messages from some of my vendors
that type of thing.
Saying that prices will increase.
Yeah, so prices will probably shoot up slightly. You're going to see a bit of a bump, in inflation numbers in the first 2-3 months until people understand that actually there hasn't been any change.
But I think we also need to push back. Don't you think so?
Because
Nigerians,
you have to push back.
Because what goes up, we know here in Nigeria hardly comes down. Let's take a look at the fuel price.
Yeah.
I mean, I must say this. I went to the filling station. That was yesterday. Usually, you'd expect that to fill your tank up, you'd be looking at maybe 60, 65,000, 70,000. And it was lesser. Yeah. Okay? And as usual, because of the death of the band ABC, for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's dead. It's gone. I mean, power has been bad. Completely bad. And the minister is nowhere to be found. I had to put that out there. I mean, and I took my 25 liters and I said, fill it up for me. Before, it would be 25,000 or thereabout. Yeah. And the attendant said, no, that's too much. I said, how much? She said, 1820. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, that's...
Now, guess what? Yeah, it's come down. Yeah. Because fuel price, I mean, thanks to Dangote, MRS and all that, is now 739 Naira in some places 760 something, while others with the coconut head are still living it at,
no, you're right.
No disrespect. Are still living it at over 800, 7, they're still stubborn. My point is, now that the fuel price has come down, I expect that it will trickle down to transportation and food. Yeah. So the restaurants will actually, start bringing down their prices. But we don't see this happen.
If there was an increase, they would...
Yeah, they would have to. No, that's a natural phenomenon. I think it's important to also address that because I hear that a lot. For a business person, you have to be cautious in bringing your prices down and you have to be quick in taking them up. If your costs go up, you must react and take your prices up.
Before you even replace them?
Yes, because you have to think about the replacement costs for the things you are currently selling, right? So if you sell low, you will, in a way, make a loss on those things that you are selling low, even though you are selling them higher, significantly higher than their the purchase cost. Now, if your costs are coming down, you have to be a bit slow and cautious, because you've got to be sure that whatever is bringing those costs down is going to be sustainable. So if you adjust lower too quickly, then what will happen is that you might get yourself caught out if prices reverse. And this PMS cost is a very, very prime example. Anything can happen tomorrow. Dangote can decide, sorry, crude oil prices have gone up, and we're back at 900 in a flash. We've seen it happen several times.
International market too.
Because the international market also affects this thing. So but the second part of the question that you asked about
inflation,
the inflation and tax is that to a very large extent we shouldn't see too much of an impact, because in truth, if you really look at, if you disaggregate the entire thing, actually taxes should reduce for the taxpayer, whilst revenues should go up for the government. Because what they've done is they've reduced, some rates, they've increased some allowances, but they're bringing more people into the net. So the real objective of this policy is to capture more people into the tax net, like the president promised.
Expand the tax net.
Expand the tax net, that's famous, thing. And for me, it's absolutely brilliant. So what we are doing is that we're trying to, the allowance, the threshold for tax payment is very high. It's minimum wage for a salary earner, and it's, get this, 100 million naira turnover per annum if you're a business person. 100 million. Drop that to if you operate 7 days a week. Divide that by 365. It's about 240,000 naira sales per day. 240,000 naira in sales every day. Very few people, the majority of business operators in this country will never even get there. They're selling 20,000, 30,000 naira in sales every day. But the tax policy will compel you through the NIN and the tax ID to be captured in the database. So if you cross that threshold, the tax man does not have to look for you. You're already captured, and then you can start paying your taxes. So I think it's I've got some misgivings here and there about it.
I want to sit a little bit on tax. You've said that there will be an artificial inflation, which we're already starting to see. Because I was saying to you that
those your vendors, you're a journalist, and they need to stop that.
Yes, some vendors have already sent messages saying prices are increasing from 1st of January. So, and you say the reason that this is happening, I quite agree with you, is that there are some misconceptions. So I want to use this opportunity to have you clarify some of these misconceptions and break it down to people. And then there's the other angle of, I hear people who say, so my old mother at home who isn't working but is collecting money from all her children will still be paying tax inside the money that she's collecting from her children. So if you can use this opportunity to help with the clarification.
The biggest misconception that has to be addressed, it's not even an elephant in the room. The elephant is standing in the middle of the highway. We cannot see it. It's that nobody can debit your account for tax. Nobody is going to see transactions flowing into your account and say, this man is making money. And then they'll just hit your account directly and deduct their own from it. That's the way people are thinking about this, and that is crazy. Your account, your bank cannot touch your money without your mandate, unless there is a court order. Of course, there is a controversy around Section 61 of the Tax Administration Act that authorizes the taxman to take your money without a court order, but that is one in maybe 1,000, in fact, maybe one in 1 million cases where that will happen. And even that, like Mr. Udele explained, the process that will lead up to that event is so long, it's not going to affect any ordinary Nigerian. You are not the target of that. So, first of all, nobody can take money from your account. Second of all, you are not paying more taxes. If anything, a lot more people will pay less or not at all.
How?
Who may have been paying. So, if you work in a company where they actually do tax remittances right now, and you're earning 70,000 naira per month, right? Gross. Under this new tax law, your company will not debit your account anymore for any tax. You get your gross net of maybe pension contribution if they do that and all of that. So you actually get a little more money in your pocket. If you're a business person that have been doing self-assessment before now, and you've been paying taxes, right? but your sales volumes, like we said, falls below the threshold, you are no longer required to pay. So more people, and then even for people that are paying, the tax band, which actually is one of the problems that I have with this law, it's that the tax band is too narrow. So you have 0, then you've got 15%, you've got 18%, and the maximum is 25%. So what we've done is that we're giving the wealthy, high net worth individuals a free pass. They are not paying enough. They will not be contributing enough. And I thought that the president would use this opportunity.
And those are the 25% you're talking about.
The highest rate you will pay.
Typically?
I mean, everywhere else in the world, if you are very, very wealthy, you pay anything from 35. In some countries, like in the Scandinavian countries where tax is really crazy, 40%. Yeah, 40% of your income you pay to the taxman.
But you know that the quality of life there is completely different from the quality of life.
This is for
that's the point.
High net worth individuals.
And it's for just the high net worth, the people that are really
God has
wealthy.
already blessed them now.
Really wealthy. So the idea behind that, is to get the people that are wealthy. Look, if you take 40% of $1 billion, I mean, that's 400 million. The man still has $600 million. So it's still very okay, as against if you take 40% of 1 million. What you can do with the remainder of the money is...
Okay, so if you say the taxman cannot collect your money and that there's a potential that you'd even have more money in your bank, then how is the tax being then processed? Because we need to break this down.
Yes, very important. So the processing part is also, part of the conversation that I think the government is not doing enough enlightenment about. Now, and again, we must remember that a lot of these things are not new. Right now in Nigeria, personal income tax and company income tax for small businesses, for registered business names, are paid to the state government. And in the state government, that's the way it's still going to remain, even under this tax law. At the state level, it's self-assessment. Lagos state government, it's self-assessment you do. You fill the forms, you declare your income, you determine how much your tax is supposed to be, and then you go to the tax office and make your payment. Most people can't do it by themselves, so they get somebody, a consultant or whatever. Usually people in the tax office will do that for you. That's not changing. So what's going to happen is that there's a platform where you get your tax ID, which becomes your unique identification number.
Or in this case, your NIN.
NIN. So what they're now trying to do is number, which I think again is very good. So reduce the burden of data gathering and all that on the citizen. So you use your NIN, and that becomes your tax ID, and that ties all of your transactions together. You can do your self-assessment. The kicker here is that because of the new platform that they are implementing, they can see what you are claiming. They have visibility into all your accounts. Which is where people get the fear of they will debit my account comes from. Because Mr. Udele has said it. If you lie, if you do this, this comedy that we've been doing where you're saying gifts, everything is now gifts, even if you are paying for a service. Or
somebody said, please, when you send money, put sugar daddy. Sugar daddy.
Put sugar daddy.
They also said a narration that said, please, this is our money.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. We see Nigerians are funny like that. And, it's one of the beautiful things about us. So now, what that is that because of the platform they have, they will see these transactions and they can estimate, how much you are earning as income. So they know what they're expecting to get from you when you do your self-assessment. And if it's significantly lower, then they come after you. They will send you, their own valuation of what you should pay, and then you can start the process of disputing it and all of that. So to talk about the platform, there's a technology platform that they are implementing, which I expect is already fully functional.
Tax ID.
Yes, exactly. But for the ordinary citizen, there isn't much of a change other than that. Understand that you'll be doing self-assessment now, as you are supposed to have been doing before, but now because there's a law that is going to be strictly enforced, you better take it seriously, look for a tax consultant around you, and let them advise you on how to do your self-assessment and pay.
The tax guys are going to be smiling to the bank right now because consultancy has gone up.
Business is good.
I've never seen any tax man. I don't know about I'm sure almost everybody in the economic space now are knotting their ties. They're so happy
Ironically, I'm also a
full lines. I
have a tax consulting practice as part of my. So
I know. I know. I'm asking you all the questions about tax.
Yes.
And I hated, of all the courses I read in law school, that was the only one I refused to read in bar finals. I hated doing the math of tax.
Yeah. Well, you had to sit for it.
Well, I could choose to. I chose not to read that topic, and I read all the others, and I was able to answer questions from the others. Exactly. So I think the final thing I wanted to ask you as we move on from tax to other conversations is about the narrations, because now you've mentioned gifts. People have been saying, oh, make sure you put description. Why is that important?
So first of all, it's two things. It's the description for your transactions, one, and records of those transactions, two. So if the description for the transaction is the only kind of record you can keep, that's okay. But if you can keep your receipts, it's better, so you can prove what you're saying. The reason it's important is because, like I just said, there's a technology platform that will crawl. It's like a web crawler, the way this microcredit companies use, where these loan apps, you know how they do it?
Yeah.
In 10 minutes, tops in some cases, you have your loan. From when you apply they hit your account in 10 minutes. It's not random. They are crawling all your your entire digital footprint to determine whether you are creditworthy or not. So the government will have something similar to check all your transactions across all your bank accounts. So it's important that you help that process, help yourself by helping that process to put descriptions that fit what you are doing, so that they can know. For example, if you are a carpenter and you receive 100, let's say 1 million naira to do, maybe a TV console or something, the person that sending you the money should put it there.
Payment for TV console for Dr. Ajala.
So that the government doesn't think that is income. Because when you get that 1 million, you yourself will now go out and buy wood. You buy, the materials you're going to use.
And the person selling will put tax there for you.
Exactly.
And when the person forgets to put a description?
At the end of the day, if descriptions are not there, it means that the government will have to kind of guess, try to figure out what the purpose of the money is on your behalf. And you don't want that to happen, because you know where they will lean. They will just assume it's income, and they will determine your tax assessment based on that, instead of on your actual profit from that transaction. So the descriptions are important. And very quickly to address the other point that you made, Graham, you are sending money to your mom from different sources. Just make sure you put gift there. I think that's the most important thing. But eventually, when you are doing your tax assessment and they are trying to confirm if it gets to that, you can prove that it was a gift and it was tax.
Sometimes we rise by lifting others. Sending money to people.
Anyway, one of the portals, just to make it clear to our viewers, you could check taxid.firs.gov.ng. It's a mouthful. I think they should try as much as possible to simplify the website.
Tax.ng or
just like Ogun State.
firs.gov.ng. Or better still, dial *829#. I just did that, and it tells me, welcome to the Federal Inland Revenue Service. This service will cost you 100 naira. This is why I have a problem. And they say if I want to proceed, I should press 1. If not, I don't want to proceed. 100 naira. So I'm going to be charged before I even gain access.
The reason for that is that it's USSD.
Yes.
And that comes at a cost.
100 naira is too much now.
Yeah, it can be lesser.
If you look at the number, how many are we in Nigeria?
But you do understand that 100 naira is going to the telecoms company, going to NCC, and then, of course, I assume FIRS will take a share. So they can make it less. It's very important to make it as
affordable
as possible, so that people can adopt.
Because this is something we're trying to introduce.
And the website too, like Joe pointed out, it's too long. It's just like Ogun State emergency numbers, 11 digits. Who's going to remember that?
11?
Yes.
Defeats the purpose. In Lagos, I can just easily say 112 or 767 and we're good to go.
Anyway, thank you so much for breaking things down for us. Just in case you do not know, Mr. Segun Sopitan is also a consultant. So let's blow the trumpet here.
I think Mr. Oyedele owes you a thank you call.
Because you have done a thorough job.
Great job for him.
Well, I mean, we've been doing that. It's important. You see, I believe that a country that will progress must pay tax. If you don't pay tax,
we also need to see the work of the tax.
So what I've been saying everywhere that I've had this conversation is, you will pay this tax whether you like it or not. So now you have to demand accountability so that the money is not stolen. Because if you don't ask the hard questions on social media, wherever, don't say, why do we do it? And people are always so lazy, we like shortcuts. Go on Facebook, go on Twitter, go on Instagram, and keep asking questions.
Short course or Messiah.
Or Messiah, exactly. Exactly.
Bottom line, ajo money, right? Ajo money, oh. Don't touch it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you for
Sopitan.
joining us
Pleasure,
today.
man.
All right, we're going to have a very quick break. And when we come back, we have our next conversation. So please stay with us as we share with you what's coming up next.